meet Jim and to help support him in his campaign. It's really very important, I think, for our community, for the state of Illinois, to have somebody as well qualified as Jim going into this campaign. And by the way, the election is coming up in February, so it's coming up very, very soon. And because he's just beginning in this campaign, it's really important to try to build some momentum between now and then. Jim actually grew up in Ohio, outside of Cleveland, and he went to Case Western Reserve, and he graduated summa cum laude, and his Phi Beta Kappa, which kind of tells you the degree of intelligence that he is. And it showed very well in his further education when he went to the University of Chicago to get his law degree. And actually one of his teachers happened to be Barack Obama, who taught constitutional law. And so he comes very well qualified with very good connections, which we hope he'll use when he gets to be Illinois State Senator. I got to meet Jim when he was at Lambda Legal, working as an attorney, and the way that he got there was that he was going to work for a big law firm in Chicago, but before he actually started the job, he made a stipulation, well, they made a stipulation that he could not take any controversial stands, because that's kind of been his career throughout his years in education, and the way that he is not afraid of controversial stands. And rather than take that job, he turned it down, so he never started day one, but he came to work for Lambda Legal, which, again, is a wonderful thing for the LGBT community. And it was a privilege to see the work that he was doing at Lambda Legal. One of the most impressive things he did was to write the civil union legislation, which he'll probably talk about today. And this was about 2 years ago, I guess, when that came up. When he kind of saved the day and helped all the battling in groups that were trying to put this together, and actually got the job done. And it's become the legislation that you're going to hear about today. Anyway, that's how I got to know Jim, and I was very impressed with his intelligence, his dedication, and just his ability to win people over and to do the right thing all the time, consistently. And besides, he's cute. So Jim, thank you for being here, and I hope we'll listen to you attentively.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so very much for coming tonight. This is a campaign that we're really at the first official stage of our campaign. I'm very happy to report that on Monday, on the first day that candidates were eligible to file, we filed our paperwork in Springfield, our petitions. And without any help from the party, machine, and apparatus, we collected triple the number of signatures that are required for someone to be on the ballot for the Illinois State Senate. I'm very happy to say that over half of the signatures we collected, I collected myself, because I thought this was an opportunity to really engage with voters, to introduce myself, to stand on right under those L tracks in the rain, as I did many times, or go door to door to folks we know who are registered to vote, to get them engaged in the process. And I cannot tell you how many of them said that this was the first time somebody running for office knocked on their door themselves, rather than sending out someone else on their behalf. So it was really gratifying, because I think it maybe made them take a couple extra seconds to think about politics, to think about the future of our state, because they actually had somebody coming to their door. And that's what I plan to do between now and February, to win this election the way politics is supposed to run, by doing it based on your merit, not your connections, doing it based on hard work, not on somebody else's work, and not with your money. That's the way politics should work. And I think that right now in Chicago, we are coming off of the highest highs and the lowest lows. We've seen Barack Obama, this brilliant guy that we send, a Chicago Democrat, to help change the nation. And we see our own governor and our own Chicago politicians failing on the ethical standards that we would all hope would be just the bare minimum of how our public officials behave. And so we need to clean up back at home. It's great that we send a brilliant guy to Washington, but we need to get the job done here at home. I'll mention just a couple things. One, that in my district, the big issue that has people worried is crime. And I believe that in order for our state to do the things that we need to do to help back at home, we need somebody willing to go to Springfield to make some tough choices. One, I think we need to begin to limit the ability of the cities to use all of our tax dollars for private TIF development and make sure more of that money goes to community police. Right now in the city of Chicago, we have all kinds of specialized tax districts, but we don't have enough to pay for our school budget and our police budget again this coming year. And so the time has come for someone to come out of Chicago who is not totally beholden to the mayor to say there are things we can do to make a more responsible financial decision for our city and for our state. I want to do that. I've also been one of the folks, and in fact I'm very proud to say that of the candidates running for the Illinois legislature, I was the first and for a while the only Democrat to say publicly that the legalization of video gambling machines in the bars and restaurants in this city is wrong. And I think it's morally wrong. Not morally wrong because I think gambling, that I'm on some high horse. I think it's morally wrong because we know that it is a means of financing our state obligations by taking advantage of the poorest folks in this city and throughout the state. In other states that have legalized those machines in bars and restaurants, they've been focused on communities of color and low-income neighborhoods. Personal bankruptcies and crime have increased. It is an irresponsible measure for our state, and I'm very proud to have been one of the folks to say that. And if I go to Springfield, I will sponsor and fight for legislation to repeal that, because it's not the way forward. It's not a responsible way of financing ourselves and raising revenue. So crime is an important issue, and these machines are only going to contribute to the human need that ultimately is responsible for the uptick in crime. And you know, it's Halloween, so I guess it's the season for scary stories. So I'll tell you a couple scary stories. And what makes them scary is that they have the unfortunate benefit of being true. This week is the final week of the legislative session in Springfield. Legislation that has been pending for a couple of years to provide rights, benefits, and legal recognition to same-sex couples is not going to pass. It's not going to be called for a vote. In 2 years, my opponent for this race has been in the state Senate. There has never been a version of civil union legislation introduced on the Senate side, only the House. There's never been one hearing, not one vote cast, nothing. Well, that's a problem, because there are couples in this room who will leave here tonight strangers in the eyes of the law. And if something unfortunate happens to you, you are one disgruntled nurse away from not being together with the person you love in a moment of strife. And that can only change not by having all the papers drawn up, which I doubt any of you would have brought with you in a big case here tonight. That will only change when the law changes and our culture changes along with it. Because folks know that it's the law of the land in Illinois that our relationships are valid, are to be recognized, and cannot be disregarded. We need somebody in Springfield who will fight. We cannot we cannot continue doing what we've done before. Play nice, support a bunch of Democrats, and wait for them to take care of us. Because I will tell you, there's always going to be another issue. There's always going to be, well, now we have to deal with Blagojevich. Now we have to deal with the CTA. Now we have to deal with the budget. Now we have to deal with campaign finance reform. Now we have to deal with the tax increase issue. Now we have to deal with the next upcoming election. There's always a reason why the gay rights vote, too hot a potato to take on right now. There's always going to be that reason. So we need somebody in Springfield who is not going down there to be liked, is going down there to get the job done. And our community for too long has depended upon the kindness of strangers, and after 2 years of waiting, I don't think we ought to wait any longer. And for the couples in this room whose lives depend upon some of these rights, protections, and benefits, you can't wait any longer. And so we have to decide what we're going to do. Are we going to continue being nice, smiling, and hoping to be liked? Or are we going to send someone down there who knows that our job in Springfield is got to be kick ass, not kiss it? because that's all they understand. They understand politics, power, they understand pressure, they understand people who make demands of one another in Springfield. The niceness, the civil rights historical part of these votes mean nothing to legislators whose sole focus is getting reelected. So we need to send someone down there who says, you want my vote for your budgets, you want my vote for your tax plan, you want my vote for your prisons, then you let my people get married. You pass legislation to protect our kids, real legislation and real protections, from bullying in our public schools. That's what we have to have. And I'm sorry to say we don't have it right now. And that's why we've been waiting. That's why this session is going to close. It's a scary story. It's a scary story to think that in the coming year in Illinois, there will be couples whose partner pass away and they will be treated as legal strangers. But that's the law right now. That's the way it is. And so we have to decide what it is we're going to do about it. And I think the answer is not for us to just send around a little donation here or there to every Democrat and hope they all collectively think highly enough of us that they'll finally do the right thing. No. I think we need to target our efforts. I think we need to send someone down there who knows that our job is to bring this legislation home for our community and is going to fight for it, is going to work for it. Because that's what we need right now. We don't need more backslapping. We don't need more niceties. We don't need more money games. We need somebody who's going to work and somebody who's going to fight. And that's what I'm going to be. And I don't make any bones about it. I will go down there and I will have the ability to go down there, not beholden to those party leaders, because I'm not asking for the machine to put me in office. All of my donors are individual donors, not PAC donors. All of my staff are people that I chose because of their passion, their commitments, not because of their connections. So I will go to Springfield able to be the champion that our community and my district needs, not someone going down there beholden to those forces that have just not produced for us year in, year out. So I don't want to be here a year from now with nothing to show for our efforts. I want to be here ready to tell you when I'm in Springfield, it's going to get done. And I need your help to do that. Because unfortunately, I'm running against an opponent who is very wealthy and has made no bones about self-funding her campaign. And the only way to compete is to be able to have the resources, and we don't have to match her dollar for dollar, because we have better arguments. Because when the positions where we disagree, we have the right position. Whether it's on sales taxes, whether it's on the ability to recall corrupt public officials, whether it's on video gambling machines and the like, I'm in the right, she's in the wrong. And so what we just have to have is enough to get our message to every voter in that district so they know the stakes before they go into that ballot box. So if you can support us with a financial contribution, I appreciate it, because this is you doing your part for an effort to get somebody in Springfield who's going to get the job done. And so it is through that collective effort that we can show that our community really can fight. We really can play with the big boys down in Springfield when it comes to politics. And that's how we're going to win. And we're going to win. So I appreciate you being here so much tonight, and I appreciate your willingness to support our campaign. Thank you so much.
Interlude, but before he does that, how can you not support Jim Madigan's candidacy? I mean, to me, you're just perfect for the job. And Mark and I would like to contribute $500 to your campaign tonight.
Thank you.
And I hope that all of you will follow our lead and support Jim and making sure that he gets to go to Springfield to do the job that he's destined to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
There are plenty of food, and help yourselves to more drink and conversations and ask questions.
Yes,
to Jim.
absolutely. I'm going to be around so we can chat.